no 9 to 5. Gigs and jobs, they keep us alive. From dawn to dusk, we never stop. Building dreams right from the top. Hustle hard, staying sweet. Side jobs make ends meet. Secrets flow, we know the way. Grind today, we'll shine someday.
Hey, welcome to Side Hustle Secrets, where we talk about gig work, all the things involved in you having a successful and profitable journey in your gig work experience. We have a few news updates today that I want to talk about, some really interesting ones, and I'd love to hear your thoughts below. The first one is a pretty major update from Instacart. It actually comes from the Instacart Shopper subreddit. It's a little bit of a rumor about something happening at Costco starting actually tomorrow, January 6th. So according to this rumor, Costco is going to start badging you in at the door. So you will scan in with a barcode with the door scanners at Costco to verify that, number one, you are there for an Instacart order. It's going to display the Instacart logo. Number two, it's going to verify you, your face, and the order information. And because it verifies the order information, you're not going to be able to use a screenshot. The Instacart shoppers on the subreddit are actually relatively excited about this, but there's a ton of commentary on this. So I'm very interested to know what your thoughts are. Number one, I think this is great for Instacart, for Costco, and for the Instacart shoppers as well. But most importantly, for the Costco customers who are also Instacart customers using the platform. Unfortunately, gig work across the country has really become oversaturated with people who are using rented, fake, or stolen accounts. This is a big problem for every delivery platform, but you do see this a lot in shops. And you see this, for example, with people who are shopping with like multiple phones, and you will see them using multiple phones to do multiple shops at the same time. This is a big problem. The number one problem is, it's not fair to the Instacart shoppers. It's not fair to the Instacart customers. If you have produce or maybe frozen items, someone's shopping at Costco or any shop that has those items, and they're doing 2 orders at a time, which by the way can be multiple batches anyway, the likelihood that that information is going to get mixed up and that your produce or frozen items are going to be not fresh when they arrive is very high. Number two, there are reasons people cannot get a gig work account like an Instacart account or a DoorDash account. And sometimes that means that they're not eligible to have those accounts. Maybe there's a criminal history issue. Maybe there's some type of other issue or driving issue, for example. The reality is these platforms have every right to screen the drivers and shoppers using their platform, and getting around those platforms by using rented, fake, or stolen accounts is simply not acceptable, and it actually does create a dangerous situation. We're actually going to talk about a very real-world example of that in this very video, so I'm curious what your thoughts are. As an Instacart shopper, though, what do you think about this? Do you think it's a good idea that Costco is badging Instacart shoppers at the door? The technology they use at the door, those scanners, that's relatively new. It's less than a year old as far as I can tell. And they do seem to be taking it very seriously, not just for Instacart shoppers, but for people who have Costco memberships as well. And that's because the membership is a core part of the Costco experience, as it should be a core part of the Instacart shopper experience. But I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think this is going to cut down on bad shopping experiences? What is your experience like shopping at Costco? I will tell you that here in Las Vegas, the Costco team is really, really great, and they're very supportive and helpful all of the time. But I've also heard many stories about how some people at Costco, whether they're customers or Costco team members, sometimes don't have the best experiences with some Instacart shoppers. And that's just bad for everyone. It's a good reminder to be your very best, regardless of what store you're at, what you're doing, because you are representing the brand during that time, and bad behavior can absolutely get you deactivated. Chime in below. Are you excited about this? Are you worried about it? Are you using a fake or rented account? If so, you're probably not subscribed to my channel. Let's move on to the next story. So this one actually comes from my hometown of Fargo, North Dakota. And this one's actually pretty fascinating to watch the video. Here is the headline.
Or had an issue previously.
Last week, one family ate their dinner in bits and pieces after a DoorDash driver decided it would be easier to deliver the food by hurling it at the front porch from their car.
One cheeseburger was barely edible. It was in pieces. The other one was kind of curled up in a ball.
It's something the customer...
Don't take it out on the food. DoorDash driver hurls delivery at Fargo family's porch. A Fargo family was left speechless after their DoorDash order was hurled onto their porch from the delivery driver's car, despite leaving a 40% tip. Now, we'll get to the tip in a second, but when you watch this video, it's actually pretty fascinating. There's no doubt about it. This person literally hurls the bag across the driveway. Like it's whoosh, it gets yeeted across the driveway onto the porch, and there's no way that order survived. So I'm kind of curious if you've ever been to Fargo in December or January, you know that it's very, very cold out. Did the driver just not want to get out of their car because it was cold? Did they have some kind of grudge? Was there an issue? Did something happen? I don't know. There's no excuse to damage or break a customer's item, and this driver had no excuse to do what they did. That part's very clear. But I'm curious of your thoughts of why this would happen. What could cause this to happen? The customer was kind of baffled as well, and they did report that all of their items were destroyed. They left what they think is a good tip, 40% tip, $9 on a $23 order. Now, I've been to Fargo, and there's not many places that you can travel that are 9 miles apart. So I know for sure that this driver was getting at least $1 per mile. But we don't know what happened on the driver's end. And I think that $9 on a $23 order in Fargo, North Dakota is a really, really good tip. No tip ever deserves you taking out anything on the customer, especially their food. Food's a very serious thing, and in many places, doing this kind of thing can actually be considered a crime. But what do you think should happen to the DoorDash driver? Should they be deactivated? Should they be required to go through training? Should they have the opportunity to provide their side of the story? What do you think should happen in this situation? And then my next question is, has this ever happened to you? Just yesterday, I was delivering an order from Mothership Coffee in Las Vegas, Nevada. It was very busy. The store was very busy. Had to stand in line for a long time. Finally got the order. When I went to my car, literally, I do not know how this happened, but the coffee like exploded everywhere. Like it exploded out the bag, like alien style. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so at that moment, you have to make a choice. Do you cancel? You could cancel that order at that point. It's not your fault. And you probably could just contact DoorDash and cancel the order. Do you deliver the item the way it is and say, hey, I'm sorry, contact DoorDash for a refund? Well, I think the right thing's pretty obvious. So I went back in the store, stood in line, showed them what happened, and they were very nice about it. They made it again. It was like they hustled through it, and I got the order delivered. Now for the customer, that's actually good because their coffee was like super hot. So that worked out for them. But I'm curious, do you have a story of this happening to you sometime when something, got damaged? What did you do? How did you handle the situation? How did DoorDash handle the situation? And then my last question is, in a situation like this, where it's so clear what happened, what do you think the appropriate compensation to the customer should be? Well, I can tell you that I think the damage of this kind of behavior is very clear. When someone has something like this happen to them, number one, they're less likely to use any of these platforms in the future, and that hurts everyone. That hurts all of us. Number two, I think they're probably less likely to tip as well because their experience was so bad. If you can't predict how your experience is going to be when you tip well, what's the incentive to tip at all? It's a fair question, and I think that it makes people less likely to tip well when this happens. I can tell you that my wife had a similar experience not that long ago where she ordered food for lunch delivered to her house, and she tipped very well. It was less than 3 miles away from the house. The driver picked up the food and drove like 12 miles north, and she never ever saw the food. Like it never came to the house. And we're talking like an hour, 2 hours later. At that point, I wouldn't feel safe eating that, and she didn't either. She had to cancel that order and just walk down and get the items herself. So I'm curious if you've ever had something like that happen, and what do you think should happen to the drivers in those situations? It's bad for everybody. My last story today actually kind of ties all of those things together. But before I get to my last story, there is an update from DoorDash. It's along the same thread that we've been talking about. DoorDash has recently committed to implementing driver ID technology or facial recognition scans into their app. And they're saying that this could happen randomly. So I'm a little bit skeptical about whether or not this is going to be rolled out as quickly as DoorDash has promised. But it's very clear that this problem of people using accounts that are not theirs is quite widespread. So what do you think the impact of DoorDash implementing this technology will be? Do you think they're slow to implement the technology because they're working on it? Have you had a problem identifying or scanning your face with DoorDash? What do you think the impact of this is going to be? I'm curious, but I'm skeptical that this is going to get rolled out in a timely manner because quite honestly, it seems like there are a lot of drivers in this situation. So comment below with your thoughts. My final thread kind of ties all of this together. And actually, it's another story from Reddit. This is actually from the Uber subreddit. So this is customers, drivers, just random people who I guess are interested in Uber. It's a pretty big subreddit. And so here's what it is. This was just from yesterday. Uber courier driver took my son's car seat. Almost 3 weeks ago, I used Uber to courier my infant son's car seat to my husband, and the driver never delivered his car seat. This is a $500 car seat that was a gift, and we aren't able to replace it right now or anytime soon. Uber has only responded to us. Oh, here we go. Uber has robots responding to us and offered to only $3 for the next ride. I'm really upset and frustrated. Does anyone have any idea or has been in a similar situation? So a lot of people have had bad experiences with this courier program. So ultimately, when you go through this thread, you'll see that this is actually pretty common, unfortunately, and that this person and many other people who have had this experience have had no resolution. So the police have not been able to help. Uber has not been able to help. And I think this is a really big problem. In this specific example, the person who posted this on Reddit has indicated to us that one of the reasons that they can't find out what to do next is because the person who couriered the item was not the same person as the Uber account. So here we kind of tie all of these things together. You can see the impact of this that someone has. This is someone who's very open and honest about the fact that this puts them in a tough financial situation because they're not able to just replace a $500 car seat. And I think most of us would be in that situation. It's hard to go out and replace a car seat, any car seat, let alone one that was a gift that was $500. And I think it's only fair to say that when you order a courier service, you expect that the driver has been screened, that they're safe, and that they are the person that they say they are. But the very minimum you expect is that the item gets to the place that you selected. Now, this is part of the problem I think that these companies have in this specific area, Uber specifically. When you deliver something with FedEx, that is subsidized by the massive network that FedEx has built over decades. So you can send something from one point in the country to another for $20 and it's tracked every step of the way. That's because of the massive network they built up. When you're using a courier service, someone is coming to your house, picking up an item, and you just have to trust them. So I think this kind of exposes a massive sort of issue with this particular item. I would love to see if we can get some help for this person and find a way to either track down that car seat or find a way for Uber to do the right thing here. I really think it really summarizes all of these things. So again, lots of interesting stories today. They all have kind of the same theme, which is that there is a problem in the gig space with borrowed, rented, or stolen accounts. Some companies seem to be doing the right thing. Other companies, it doesn't seem like we've really landed the plane there. So I'm curious what your thoughts are. My tip for the day is quite simple. And when it comes down to all of these things, cameras are everywhere. Everywhere. And you're always being recorded, whether that's at the store, the traffic light, your dash cam, or the customer's house. You're always on camera, and you always assume that you're being recorded. So there's an old adage about, what you do when no one's watching kind of defines who you are as a person. So when you're a driver out there or a shopper out there, just always assume that someone's following you around with a GoPro and filming every single thing you do, because it matters. The things you do when no one's watching matters. Bad behavior like this hurts everyone. It hurts the customer, it hurts the gig worker, and it makes everything worse. So try to be the best person that you can every single time. Go a little bit above and beyond when you can. And if you have a mistake happen, contact the app, contact the customer, and do the right thing, even if no one's watching. Thanks for following Side Hustle Secrets. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button. It really does matter a lot. Click to follow along for secrets on how to be more successful in the gig space and for news and updates in the gig economy.
Freelance life, no 9 to 5. Gigs and jobs, they keep us alive. From dawn to dusk, we never stop. Building dreams right from the top. Hustle hard, staying sweet. Side jobs make ends meet. Secrets flow, we know